So their awareness may be, that hurts too much, I don't want to deal with it, and they'll back away from it. But the truth is, it'll hurt a lot less if you do. Awareness is the first step, because simple awareness is where change can happen, because until you're aware, nothing will change. I mean, I don't want to blame the Hallmark Channel,
I was just going to say,
though.
movies, anyone?
Exactly, and to say, you know what, I want to confront this, figure this out, and heal it once and for all. That's the courageous step to become free, to be able to love fully again. And
Beautiful.
ultimately, love is going to be the winning quality, the winning agent on the planet. So that is darkness will dissipate, will eradicate, will evaporate in face of the love. So I believe we are in the right place and we're doing the right thing. It may not look pretty right now, but I believe we're on the right track.
This is the Leading with Love podcast. We're gathered here to open our hearts, expand our souls, live fully in our gifts, and co-create the world we want to see. Let's dive right in. Hello and welcome back to the Leading with Love podcast. I'm your host, Shauna, and I'm very excited today to bring you in an interview, a conversation with the most lovely gentleman. And before we even get started, I just want to offer him the most high praise and gratitude, because we have tried to do this a couple of times and we've been having to, not him, I have been having technical difficulties, one of which we'll have a little laugh at today. But he's a wonderful guest, gracious and patient. And so we're coming at you for the third time. You won't have seen the others, but we are really, really dedicated to bringing a beautiful conversation about love to you today. He is known as the Love Doctor, and he's a professional relationship expert and has become a dear friend of mine in the span of us trying to have these beautiful conversations for you. And I just have these little points that I want to make here, because as he shares about his work, he's a transformational guide and, as I said, a relationship expert. His specialty is helping mature men and women heal deep emotional wounds, break free from destructive relationship patterns, and reclaim their self-trust and authentic worth, so they can, listen to this, attract relationships equal to who they are. So without any further delay, and here comes a fun little tech glitch for those of you who are watching, and I'll explain it for those of you who are not, my dear friend and guest, Barry Selby.
See?
Welcome. Yeah.
Yes, well, the glitch was barely visible for those people who are watching. You have to look really closely to notice the glitch. So
It's a
it
tiny
is what
little
it is.
thing. My name had a little motion to it and flew into the screen, and his was still, but I wanted it to be perfect, and it isn't, and that is okay. Welcome, Barry.
Thanks for having me again. Definitely fun to be back to once and for all have this message reach the audience.
Beautiful. Of course, I have some questions for you and some things I want to talk about, but if you would like to introduce yourself and say anything that I didn't say about you, please go ahead.
Yeah, as I said, I am dedicated to love and relationships. I have been having some conversations a lot recently about self-relationship, as that is the core, really, of my work, although it wasn't necessarily the primary message I put out there. But the reality is, well, my work's really about helping my clients become better partners to attract better partners. That's the simplest way to put it. And that means the inner work. And that's what we'll talk about today.
I love that. It's actually one of the things that I wrote down, because you talk about doing the inner work, and it feels to me like, well, I'm not even it feels like, we know that without doing that inner work, you're not going to become your best self to attract someone else's best self. And so then you're just going to bring your patterns to your next relationship. Would you agree?
I would say, even to the fact that we are actually playing too low. We are
Playing too low.
we're short selling ourselves to sell for a
Mm.
relationship. And down is that term I hate, because it implies you're not getting what you really want. And so with my clients and what I do in my own work is about how raising our standards attracts a better quality of partner in the first place. So it's no longer um, hoping to get what you want. It's about being a better partner so you get what you want.
I saw something that you posted, and I also want to just give you kudos for how beautifully you show up on social media. You've really been just sharing this message about being a good partner and not just how to attract a good partner. I've really noticed that in your work lately, and you
Thank
just
you.
spoke to that. It's so important, and I would love to hear. I'm just going to give you the floor because I would love to hear you talk about anything you want to on what it means to be a good partner. That's a wide open subject, so please enlighten us.
Um, well, one point I'll talk to, because I'm right in the middle of it now. I've got an ongoing program that I just had start at the beginning of the month, which is basically called emotional freedom. Actually, emotional freedom
Beautiful.
experience, and really it speaks to healing those patterns and limiting beliefs we carry that stop us having what we want. And emotional freedom maybe sound rather airy fairy, but what it really means is that we have dominion over our emotions, that we're not suppressed, we're not controlling ourselves. We get to be honest with ourselves and heal that baggage, that history that we've been carrying around for so long that doesn't help us in any way. And so for me, the work in a lot of ways is looking in the rearview mirror and making peace with it so you can look forward clearly and focus where you want to go and have what you really want again.
Making peace with the way that things have been, the relationships you've had, maybe how you've shown up. Once
Yep.
you do your healing work and you start to recognize, oh, it wasn't just the other person that I was blaming and projecting on. I kind of, I have my own stuff that I brought to the relationship, and it can be kind of a,
Yeah.
not a fun revelation.
No, the challenge is in a way that we have the um, willingness to take responsibility for our participation in those relationships that maybe we spent the whole time blaming the other person and thinking it was their fault and it was all nothing to do with us at all. But the reality is, if we were in that relationship, we had some part to play in it. And if
Some
we do
might
the work
even
on
say
that level,
50-50. Sorry.
well, that's the thing. I'm not trying to say it's 50-50 because if you, for example, if you were in an abusive relationship,
Hmm.
you wouldn't necessarily be 50% involved in that. But the fact you were still there, there's some work to do to heal that part of yourself that maybe didn't choose to leave when you could have done. There's always some
Right.
part of us that maybe can clean up and be more kind to.
Oh, that's really beautiful because I think we often beat ourselves up for the way that
Hmm.
we behave. So when we recognize it, it's uncomfortable and we want to heal it, but then we add a layer of shame to that.
Oh yeah, yeah. In fact,
Huh.
I joke about these being. I was talking to my students last night. I said about calling it the four horses of the apocalypse, four horsemen of the apocalypse, because it's blame, shame, guilt, resentment. Those four
Oof.
things throw around with abandon in relationships oftentimes,
Wow.
and basically two of them pointing at the other person, two of them pointing at ourselves. And the challenge is, for example, when we're carrying around resentment, the other person may not know we're resenting them. They may feel that we're being distant or held off, but all that turmoil and upset about those things is inside of us, and it becomes incapacitating because it means it limits their ability to love. So we can't even show up properly. It was um, who was it now? I'm trying to remember. There's a teacher I remember listening to who talks about this. That basically talks about how when we go through heartbreak and upset and wounding, it's like imagining that if our love is an ocean, the wounds we carry become like icebergs on top of the ocean. And
Ooh.
so the more wounds we have, then the less ocean is free to be seen by the sky, so to speak. So it means what it literally means is that the more upsets we carry around, the more wounds we carry inside, the more that open ocean of love is covered up by icebergs of limitations, so we cannot be able to love anybody else. And so what happens is when we get into new relationships, there's less love available for us to share with them. So that person is missing out because we can't love them as much as we thought we could. So that's a powerful lesson as well. That if you don't do the healing work, you're less able to love to the level you want to love.
So that's really beautiful because the image that I got while you were sharing that was that you're prickly. And I know I will acknowledge that resentment was something that I've had a lot of opportunity to work through in prior relationships. I don't
Mhm.
think there was shame so much, which I know is very common, but the resentment is literally, it's like being prickly. When you're resenting someone, it does not feel good to them. Not, it doesn't feel good to you. It's prickly to you, but there's no way.
Right.
Like when you shared that ocean analogy, there's no flow. I'm not flowing love to you. It's stuck, and it so you're like icebergs. You're saying floating around, and there's less flow of love. That's really sad and
Yeah.
beautiful.
It's almost like in another way, another visual. I mean, sorry to give props. That the explanation I learned from Barbara DeAngelis. Now I remember who it was. So
Ah,
let's give that props out. But the other way I put it was almost like if you imagine your heart getting wounded all the time when you're covering up with band-aids, there's not much room for the love to get out because the band-aids are covering everything up, not just the wounded part, but the rest of your heart. So how
or
can you
in,
be able to love if you're holding yourself back because of your wounding? You know?
or in. That picture
Yeah.
you just gave was, I thought, well, how can any love get in through those little, tiny bits of
Yes.
room in between the band-aids too?
Yes. Obviously, two-way street. But it is so true that the inability for love to get out is just as challenging as the inability of love to get in as well. So yes, you're absolutely right.
Well, you must deal with this a lot, I'm assuming, in the clients that you work with, and I know you do a lot of, talks and things like that, where people, I guess I'm pulling in the projecting and the blaming too, like you said, where you're assuming that the problem is someone else's. So you haven't really looked at your own dynamics in terms of your wounds and what needs to be healed because you're not owning it. And
Right.
so you can't really receive and give freely if you're not aware of what's blocking you.
It's most people, I presume, I don't have a, I don't, I'm not done statistical research on this, but I believe most people, because of the dating apps especially, when they get out of a relationship and they get over their initial grief period of feeling lost and distressed and upset, will go, okay, let me dig out the app and start swiping again. They don't actually spend any time honestly looking in the mirror and looking at their own flaws, their own upsets, their own patterns, and go, you know what? Let me fix that first before I go into my next relationship.
Yeah, exactly. And then that saying is a cliche for a reason, right? Wherever you go, there you are. We hear
Absolutely.
it, but we don't think it applies to us, right? How come I keep dating these jerks, women say? Or how come, actually, that reminds me, I'd like to just touch on quickly something we talked about before, and I think would be beautiful to address is a dynamic that's very common. And you spoke to this about being the knight in shining armor. And when I think about women, you know where I'm going with this, women who want to be rescued and yet they keep dating jerks because there's something that's unhealed there. So they've got their part, right? There's some victim mentality there, there's some martyr going on there. But it takes two to tango, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking to an experience I had back in mid '80s,
Mm.
I had this persona of being this knight in shining armor, and I would save these damsels in distress. So of course, I had to find women who were acting like damsels in distress. So of course, it was a reciprocating pattern with her. And the truth is, I got burnt out on it very quickly. I mean, within a couple of years, I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I had some very clear feedback from the universe about why it was good to choose out of that. But the lesson I want to take out at this point was that I got clear that I was choosing women who weren't in their ownership of their amazing gifts, power, authority, femininity. Because if they had all those gifts, they wouldn't be damsels in distress anymore. They wouldn't be victims, and I wouldn't be saving them. Because ultimately, as I get clear, and I talk about this now, I had this old image that relationship was where it was two people come together, face to face, nose to nose. But the truth is, when you're like that, you can't see where you're going. A really healthy relationship is two people side by side facing the same direction, so that you're in partnership going forward together. But it means
Together.
also an equality between partners, even though they're very different.
And acknowledging the whole world around you as you
Yeah.
walk the path of life together.
Hmm.
Okay, that's a really interesting visual because if you think about two people who are looking at each other like the way you said actually would be dysfunctional, it's when it's
Yep.
kind of a when people think that someone can complete them, like you're just looking to this person to be your everything.
Yes, that's the Jerry Maguire quote that I use a lot. Yes, it's the epitome of codependency. And the
Yeah.
quote from Jerry Maguire is, "You complete me." So absolutely what you said. There's such a overtone of romanticism that's supposed to be the perfect way of being, which is not. It's so unholy. It's so
Ooh,
dysfunctional. It's so
it's so
healthy. So
dysfunctional. And
yeah.
yeah, we all have to grow out of that because if you think someone else is going to complete you, A, you are implying you're incomplete, which is not true.
Mhm.
And B, who
Yep.
could ever do that? That is such a burden to put on somebody.
It is insane, but we do that all the time because we think
Wow,
it's normal. Such a
we
dysfunctional view of
do.
the way romance should be. I mean, I don't want to blame the Hallmark Channel,
I was just going to say
though.
movies, anyone?
Exactly. It is. It's the joke was about that men learn about sex through porno movies, women learn about romance through Hallmark movies.
Oh,
Neither one right either.
for anyone listening, that's the sound of me slapping my forehead. That is a recipe for disaster right there. No wonder nobody has healthy love relationships until they meet you.
Well, I like to think so, but I'm not the only
Yeah,
one, of course, that I'm able to teaching this
of
work.
course.
But
The
yes,
love
that's the thing
doctor.
is that it is because, and to put it simply, we didn't. None of us, I believe, really had good education about relationships growing up. I mean, schools don't teach; they teach sex education, but they don't teach relationship education. And our parents most likely didn't teach us how to be better partners. They just demonstrated by how they lived, which could be good, bad, or indifferent. And so for many of us, we grew up inheriting patterns from what we saw our parents doing because we didn't know any differently or any better. And so what our parents modeled for a relationship, which they didn't probably know either to do either because they learned from their parents, we just go, oh, that must be the way it is. And then we just follow examples like that. So it takes a conscious effort, choice, and willingness to go, how do I learn how to do this differently? How do I choose to be a different partner than I was before because it wasn't working before? But of course, it takes awareness to know there's something different to choose because a lot of people don't even know they can choose better.
That's it, isn't it? That's it right there. It's a choice. And until you have that awareness that wait a second, I'm just running patterns that whatever I saw from my parents, this is the healing journey for any pattern,
Right.
right? Shining light
It-
on it first, going, oh wait, maybe there's some
yeah.
dysfunction here. Maybe I just learned this from society or my teachers or my parents and it was put into me, programming at its finest, unintentional. But I mean, how could our
Mhm.
parents have known about healthy love? That is so rare.
It is one of those things where we look back through history, and of course, our parents learned from their parents, and their parents from their parents, instead of going way back in history. So, if we choose to do something different, when we choose to say, you know what, I'm aware this isn't working, I'm going to make a different choice, we can actually break the cycle of generational patterns that have been going back for decades, for centuries even. And I want to say this one thing again: awareness is the first step because simple awareness is where change can happen. Because until you're aware, nothing will change.
That is so amazing because what's occurring to me is in this generation, at this time in human history, it's kind of the first time, especially with the internet and all the books and all the videos and everything we have access to, that entire swaths of people, millions of people, are actually doing this healing work, which means it's the
Mhm.
genesis for the availability of a new kind of relationship that opportunity really wasn't there before.
Yeah, we are. I won't say the golden age is too fancy a word, but we are in a much better place now than we were 50 years ago in terms of education, informity, and yes, having the connectivity of the internet and all the resources out there gives us such greater skill set, such greater resource, such greater opportunity. Even just watching YouTube videos or listening to podcasts like this one can give us the
Exactly.
information we know, to learn how to do things because it isn't really. It's not like there aren't college courses you have to take. You can, of course, but you don't have to take that. You can learn everything you need to know about relationships from listening to certain podcasts. Your podcast. I've got two podcasts from books on Amazon to videos on YouTube. You can learn so much about relationship without even leaving your own chair.
It's incredible. And the more you do, the more it has to open up something in you. I mean, what I was thinking as I was listening to you was if you're willing to look at yourself and not just read the
Yes,
book or listen to the video and think, well, that's interesting. My partner should really listen to this, and it doesn't apply to me. But if you
right.
do it enough and you're on your own healing journey, you have to eventually see, oh, wait a second, I've been showing up this way and I've been doing that. And I wonder what that's about. And then you start digging around in those what I would call dark spaces, but they're really not.
Yeah.
They're just
No.
stuck little parts of us that are contracted and constricted and trying to protect us from
Yeah.
from pain.
It is frankly. I mean, let's put it this way. Counterpoint to what I'm talking about here about doing the work and growing. A lot of people are frankly afraid of facing the pain, so they won't even want to face the difficulties. So their awareness may be that hurts too much. I don't want to deal with that, and they'll back away from it. But the truth is, it'll hurt a lot less if you do face it and move forward and do the steps to heal. Because for most people, it's kind of like the idea of taking a band-aid off. It's like you take a band-aid off and take it off very slowly because so it hurts so much. You peel off a little bit, peel off a little bit more, peel a bit more, eventually it comes off. Or you can just go yank and take it all off in one go.
Yeah,
It
rip
may
the band-aid off.
be painful doing it, but it may feel like you're doing it more painfully than that. But the cumulative amount of pain peeling it slowly is actually greater than the one time taking off in a quick yank, because it's it's interesting because we think because it's a great amount of pain initially taking the bandit off in one swipe, but the reality is the little pains we get from just slowly peeling the band-aid off cumulatively are much more than that one time yank. So facing that's a weird analogy, but yeah, we're facing the difficulties and the challenges may feel painful initially, but the rewards and the joy and the health and the happiness comes after that
Oh
is so much
yeah.
greater than that.
Well, it's that it's and another analogy is like death from a thousand paper cuts, right? All the pain and what I'm
Yeah,
thinking
yeah,
also as you're talking is it's the difference between acute and chronic. And what your brain is not recognizing is you have chronic pain. And you have chronic
yeah,
shutdown, and you haven't allowed love into your life, and your brain can only see what's familiar and not what you haven't experienced yet. So it doesn't want acute pain. It's kind of got this underlying pain that it's been carrying around that's chronic, but that acute pain opens up,
right.
as you said, the
Well,
opportunity for love and expansion and connection.
this is the thing. Just to make it even more challenging,
And fun. No.
is that let me say it this way: in our human bodies, our senses have a only a certain amount of time where they're functioning at a certain level. What I'm trying to say is, for example, if you notice, for example, you walk into a room, there's a certain smell, you'll smell that for maybe a few minutes, and then it'll just go in the back of your consciousness, and you'll forget about it. You won't be aware of it like 10 minutes later. Same thing's true with noise in the background. They'll tend to tune out them over a period of time. And same thing's true with pain. You
Right.
may have pain, feel it starkly initially, but after a few minutes or a few hours, depending on your pain levels, you'll become numb to it. You won't even notice it. So some of these pains that are chronic don't show up in your awareness because they're numbed out.
And we
They're not
learn how to
fixed.
live with it, right? We're wired to learn how to live with, because I mean, think about it. In most of our history, we were not very comfortable physically. So
Hmm.
we have adapted to learn how to live with a certain level of pain, I think, and
Yeah.
just carry
Well,
on.
yeah. In fact, I would say there's an old phrase about time heals all wounds, and I disagree with that.
Just covers it
Time
over.
numbs wounds.
Mm.
I'm now speaking about emotional wounds here because physical,
I
yes,
know
time
you
does heal
are.
physical wounds, but emotionally speaking, time numbs them because we don't stay focused on them. So the numbness takes over, so we don't feel them. We go, great, I've moved on with my life. But you don't realize you're dragging one leg behind you because you're not standing on your own 2 feet yet. So
Oh,
to face those challenges and to say, you know what, I want to confront this, figure this out, and heal it once and for all, that's the courageous step to become free to be able to love fully again.
beautiful. It is courageous because you're digging into something, not to be weird, but into a wound that it's very tender, right? Our tender places where we've been hurt before, even the toughest of guys, they're really, really, um, I guess for lack of a better word, painful. Like people don't want to go there, but and it can be excruciating. But I have seen Barry. I have seen men go through healing work where they've just been screaming it out or finally expressing the pain that they've experienced in their lives. And to me, just let me say to you and to men, it is the most beautiful thing to witness because we know the difference in how we were raised and that men and boys have been taught to shove it all down and not feel it. And that is cool and that is strong. And it's a lot to carry.
It is a thing that unfortunately we men weren't given permission when we were
Mm,
younger to be free to be vulnerable. So all those terms we got when we were kids, like man up, boys don't cry, don't be a sissy, all that stuff, became a way of life. And so for most men, we've carried this armor to not so much protect us from the outside world, but to protect the world from us, because we didn't want to
yeah.
show our emotional upsets and wounding.
Right.
And the work I've done over the last, I mean, I've been in this work for over 40 years, but the men's work I've been involved with and being around other men who've done the healing work,
Mm,
it can be very painful to go through. Absolutely. Been there myself, seen other men as well. But when we get to the other side, the freedom, the joy, the comfort, the love that we feel supersedes all of that so much. And I have brothers in the work I've done that's so rewarding because we've been through the fire and we come out the other side in a way that is so grace filled
mm.
and whole. And I'm just thankful for that. So yeah,
Whew.
absolutely.
Grace filled. That's beautiful. And whole. See, you're touching upon whole. When you know and you access your true wholeness, then you don't expect anyone else to complete you because you know it's not possible.
Yep, absolutely. It's relationship. I keep bringing us all terms, and I remember hearing this term many years ago about how relationship is 50-50. It's like, no, it's not.
Mm.
It's 100-100 because we're not half beings. So, as you know, again, you can't complete me, I can't complete you, but
No.
we can add to each other. We can be whole beings and bring ourselves fully, wholly present, and so can our partners, so that we can be a relationship. Because a relationship is actually 200%
Yeah,
because it's both partners.
yeah. When made that joke about 50-50 earlier, I was thinking exactly that. It's not 50-50, it's 100-100.
Right.
And it's a trick
Hmm.
question when someone says, are you 50-50? Are you showing up 50-50 in your relationship? No, it needs to be, I'm 100% and you're 100%.
Exactly.
And we are all in. And we lean in when we see there are projections happening or a wound that's showing up. That is something that this is so beautiful how it weaves together because as a whole person, that is you being a better partner,
Hmm.
right? And then the joy when you find each other. I'm sure you've seen this a lot with your clients when people have done their healing work and then life is an adventure together. Doesn't mean you're not going to come up with challenges because new patterns will show up in the mirror that is relationship, right?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
oh,
Absolutely.
there's just so much there and when you're both willing to like have a conscious relationship.
Hmm.
We are not perfect. We are beautiful, perfectly imperfect human beings. And we know that with our relationship, patterns will show up. And instead of our old ways of coping, which we have now healed, we hope, or
Hmm.
maybe they can even be dredged up in the moment, but we can recognize them and catch them and work through them together and maybe have some of that grace you spoke about. Like if I'm just imagining that something's coming up, instead of running away or shutting down or blaming or projecting or feeling shame, we just go, oh, okay, what's that? There's something there. Let's look at it together because we love each other and we've committed to walking this path together.
A part of that for me, also speaking to that piece, is that yes, stuff does come up in a relationship once you're in a committed relationship. But the thing is, first of all, when you've done your healing work, you're much more able to stand on your own 2 feet and be there for your partner. Because it may be at times where you're not going to be 100-100. Maybe one partner is going to be, you know what, today I'm only 20% because I'm dealing with all this stuff. And if the other person's 100%, they can maybe fill in the gaps, but also they can hold the space for their partner. So there's a level of trust that's there, so that each partner can be the cradle the other person can rest in when there's challenges going on. It doesn't matter which gender it is. And if it's too much, then yes, go see a therapist, coach, guide, whatever you do. But there's a capacity within the relationship for each partner to be the space holder for the other one. So when they are going through their own fire,
Beautiful.
their own facing their own challenges, they create the space for that to happen without any judgment, without any blame, without belittling, with any of that stuff. And the person can thrive and heal, and the relationship gets even stronger.
I love that. I once heard someone say that everyone's after work-life balance and there is no such thing. Sometimes you're going to need to pour it on at work and sometimes you're going to need
Hmm.
to be with your family only and let work go for a little bit. And there really is no such thing as balance. It's an impossible dream. Life doesn't work that way. And I know you work
Right.
with a lot of balance, life, work, love, business, all the things, but what you just said about the flow of maybe I have more capacity right now and I'm feeling strong and I have lots of space for you and you're going through something tough. That's life.
Hmm. And it's healthy.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Like you're each other's sanctuary.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm. Is this part of what you're doing in your I love it. Is this part of what you're doing? It's a 4-week course you're in the middle of, right?
Yeah, it's not that specifically because I'm working with singles, but I'm
Okay.
giving them the tool and the perception to the reflection, so they can see themselves in a different light. And a lot of that work is, I mean, nuts and bolts stuff from how to be, in better in building self trust with ourselves, but also how to deal with all the emotional baggage we claim from past relationships and other parts of life. We can start making, forgiving ourselves. So there's a whole spectrum in this course that really sheds light on the things that are in the way, but also helps my the participants do some real work there whilst there as well. I mean, if they want to go deeper, then we'll do one-on-one work afterwards. But in
Right.
this program, we're getting tools they can use, and they're facing their own challenges. In fact, the assignment I gave them this week is they're writing a letter to their younger self to really start listening, having a dialogue there, because there's a lot of stuff that was buried in, and we talked about this past week, were the things that are still there from younger age that haven't been resolved yet. So they're gonna do some deeper work this week, which is cool.
So their younger selves, inviting their younger selves to share what it has
Yeah.
probably been screaming at them in many different ways and coming out sideways and different reactions and actions and behaviors. And now to finally sit
And
and
yeah,
listen.
that's the thing, is to make it like, okay, now I want to listen, tell me, rather than all the acting out, as you said, like, being upset and frustrated and causing the kinks in life. When you actually listen, that part's going to go, thank you, fine, I can tell you. And that's such a relief as well.
Oh, that's so beautiful. You know, you mentioned tools, and I'm sure you're using a lot of them. In my notes that I was writing, you say in your bio that you bring, all these beautiful tools. I know NLP and Gestalt and lovely things that you bring to the table, as well as transformational insights. And I was thinking about that because there are so many tools out there, but without the insight, without the wisdom, they're just inert. They're nothing. They're just tools. And then you can have, the insights, but without the tools to apply them, it isn't really having an effect in your life. It's not transformational. It's not helping you. So I love that you spoke to that, that you are this
Hmm.
container. You are being this container of the wisdom and the tools for the transformation to occur.
It's really, I say this, it is that level as well, but partly it's also because the presence and the container I create does half the work. I mean, I've learned this over the years, and having been in the spiritual work for so many years, I know how to create the space so that what happens for my clients and for my audience is that the safe is built in, and the room for them to heal is much more available. Because yes, the tools, you can have tools up there wazoo, but if you don't use the tools, so you don't have the power for the tools, they don't have any effect. And so what I've discovered is, yes, to really have the transformational space, is I hold the space for them to transform by them saying yes. And it's beautiful. That's why I love doing this work.
See, so there's another couple of pillars that I see. There is you showing up having done your work. And so,
Hmm.
therefore, you can hold a beautiful, very spacious container without
Yeah.
engaging with them, but rather just allowing them. But then also their willingness, right? No one is going to change. You can lead a horse to water and all of that. Um, they are coming to you saying, I want this, I want to change. And that is a key ingredient.
Yeah, because the thing is, I can't fix them if they don't want to fix themselves, so to speak. I mean, it's not fixing, but it's that idea. It's like, it's not my job to make you feel better. It's your job to feel better, and I'll provide the tools.
Right. And so many people hire coaches, so to speak, and their attitude is fix me. Like, I'm paying you money, fix
Hmm.
me. And it doesn't work that way, right? You have to be willing to look at your tough stuff and heal and have that person be a facilitator, a catalyst, a space holder, a wisdom bringer, or, and that's why people are dissatisfied when they hire a coach and then they're like, oh, that didn't work. Well, guess what actually didn't work? You didn't work.
Well, I wouldn't say it that way, but yes, it's true.
I said it. I said it because I think a lot of people. Okay, how do I am I? Do I want to say this? Well, I'm saying it. A lot of people want change, but they don't want to change.
Very true. So true. Yeah.
And when taking it back to that, we're in pain and we're carrying around this chronic pain, our minds are wrong because they don't like the unfamiliar and they don't like change. But change and the unknown is where magic happens. That's what we don't
Hmm.
haven't been told, and our poor little brains and our little selves trying to protect us don't know, is that, like you said, that access to healthier love and more. What did you said, something that I wrote down? Up level your relationship prospects.
Hmm.
Like
Yes.
that opening that I see of you up leveling because you've done your healing work, and now you're looking around at a new, wider horizon that you didn't have
Yeah.
access to before.
It's something that has been interesting. I was having a conversation with a fellow guide Monday or Tuesday, and I said, it's like, I've been single for a long time because I'm really clear I don't need a relationship. And also, most of the prospective dates I've seen on the dating apps, because yes, I do explore the dating apps too, are people who I really clearly get they are not somebody I want to partner with because they're not standing on their own 2 feet emotionally. And I'm
Mm.
clear that having done, if somebody comes to me who hasn't done the work, they're a client, not a partner. And I won't coach my partner. So I want them to have done their own work so we can be together on an equal footing.
Hmm.
That simple.
Yeah, you mentioned that standing on your own feet a few times, and I like that because it is, right? You're standing solid, you know your heart, you know your mind, you've done your work, and you're ready.
Yep.
And I'm imagining these people coming out of your workshops and your groups, and having read your book, by the way, Barry has, I don't know if you've got more books, but I know you have one called 50 Ways to Love Your Lover, which I adore the name of that book. And in the years since you wrote it, you've just expanded in your work and your reach and your
Yeah.
impact, and it's beautiful.
Thank you. It is something that my goal is always to, I mean, simply put, leave people better off than I find them, sort of thing. So if they come through my programs or if they work with me privately, my work is to make sure they are in a better place, ideally fully whole and complete, but certainly further along the path than they were when they started. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm kind of imagining what I was going to say is these people coming in and there's just a little bit of darkness and shadow, and then they come out all sparkly and there's new, like I said, new vistas, new horizons, because they can see. In fact, you can see more clearly once you've done your healing work. You can see.
Yeah. It's a joy to be, frankly, in that space, and as well of doing this, because there's such a sense of well, it's fulfillment. And frankly, it's why I do what I do. It's such a joy to
Oh,
do, and of course, it's nice to be paid for it, but I do it anyway because I love the ability to serve and inspire and open people's hearts and help them embrace their own hearts so they can be whole and loving themselves.
oh, God, we need more love in the world. This is so beautiful. Well, I thank you for doing this work because it's really important. And this access to a new conscious way of relating to each other, conscious meaning it's not unconscious, right? It's not
Hmm.
patterns relating to each other or inner children relating to each other, wounds relating to each other. It's us consciously awake relating, and that is new. I swear it's new on this
Yep.
earth.
It is new. I should say it's more visible than it used to be. I think it's been
Hmm.
around for quite a long time. It was very isolated and not so common,
More
but it's
common
becoming more.
than maybe. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not, because I'm definitely not the only one doing this by any means. I've
No.
some great teachers I've studied with who still do their work, so I'm just following on in their footsteps and spreading the message out, same as they were.
Beautiful. Well, if it's more and more common, then that means that the possibility for love and connection is blossoming on our planet, which is what I like to see,
Thank
which is what we're both up to. That brings the
Yes,
possibility for new ways of relating as a species and caring for our earth, and just it there are possibilities now that didn't exist before. They existed, but we didn't
I,
have access to them.
okay. I wasn't going to go here, but I'll say this because it's on my mind right now.
Okay.
It appears that there's a lot more darkness and hate in the world than there has been in a long time.
Mm.
My belief is the concentration, like the band aid, is getting more concentrated in smaller spots, so it's more visible. But the truth is, the more love that's showing from the planet, as in the more light that's showing from the planet, the less room there is for the darkness. The darkness gets concentrated, it looks horrible, but it's in much smaller doses. And so the
Mm.
reality is, we are bringing more love to the planet, and ultimately, love is going to be the winning quality, the more the winning agent on the planet. So that is darkness will dissipate, will eradicate, will evaporate in face of the love. So I believe that we are in the right place and we're doing the right thing. It may not look pretty right now, but I believe we're on the right track.
Well, I kind of see it like shining light on rats in a dark place in a corner and they're scrabbling, or cockroaches that came out, it's, and that's not actually, I mean, the darkness is just stuck places and painful things, right? But the more light shines, the more we're going to see it. And of course, with the internet and all the things that we have access, as we said, just the 24-hour nature of input, we're going to see a lot more than we used to. But that also opens up
Yeah,
a lot more chance to shine light than ever existed before.
absolutely.
I love that.
We're doing
I love
we're doing
that
the
so
work.
much. And I know there's a couple more things I want to touch on. Um, Actually, let me ask you this first. You deal with, and I know you speak to sometimes, masculine and feminine and those types of dynamics, and what might be healthy and what might not be. Are you wanting to talk about that? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. It was probably the biggest piece that changed my life and put me on this path in the first place back in 2007.
Oh, well, I'm glad I asked.
is For me, the thing about it was I didn't understand there was an option for me to be other than either a macho man or a nice guy. And I spent being a
Oh.
nice guy because it felt nicer than being a macho man. And what happened was, in the transformation I went through in that time, I discovered there was a third option, which is to be a masculine man, and I didn't know that masculine was different from being macho. I thought they were the same thing. They are not. They're very different. And so, in the from my point of view, being the male part of this conversation, there is a level of masculinity that I've learned to embody, which is really purpose driven. And the way I differentiate macho from masculine is macho energy is ego driven, usually selfish, self centered, and superiority based idea that they're better than other people. That's kind of the macho way of doing things. It has some positive qualities, but generally it shows up that way in the negative side. A masculine man generally has what I would describe as a strong spine, which is direction, clarity, and purpose, and also an open heart, which brings compassion and care for the world. So it can be very vulnerable, but also very strong in leadership, but as in a place that is almost like a benevolent energy of leadership that way. So it's not necessarily about, it can be very forceful and dynamic, getting things done, but it's only because it's a service to the love. And that means what
Oh,
masculinity is about.
amen. Do you see the woman that you are speaking to? And those of you who are listening, I just had this deep, beautiful sigh as I was listening to that because it is so welcomed and it is so beautiful because, yeah, I mean, the nice guy dynamic doesn't have a spine and cannot protect anyone or cannot stand for anything, as lovely as a nice guy is. And the macho guy, what I would call toxic masculine, I mean, we're on the edge of destruction in this world because of toxic masculinity. And I know that's kind of a buzzword, and you probably don't like it, toxic masculinity, but calling it macho, yeah, like I don't have
Yeah.
feelings and I don't, that healthy, beautiful masculine is the most gorgeous thing. It's so it's just healthy. It's what I feel like
Mhm.
men were meant to be, and not that we're getting into gender or anything like that, but just masculine energy when it is healthy
Yeah.
is it stands for love. It's in service of love. It stands for family and community and a beautiful healthy earth and connection, and it doesn't like the bro code. Oh, that's not the right way I want to put that. How do I want to say that? I can cut things out if I need to. There is
Well, no,
a
but the
go ahead.
masculinity is in a lot of ways is brotherhood, but it's not
Yeah,
brotherhood in
that
not
yeah.
brotherhood like the bro code. Bro code is kind of the ego driven, like banging heads, like I'm better than you, I'm better than you, sort of thing, and that playfulness. And also, just to be clear, I have a pet peeve with the idea of toxic masculinity because
I know.
masculinity to me is never toxic. Toxicity belongs to
Mm,
machoism. So if it's anything, it's toxic
right.
machoism. That's where the issue lies.
Toxic
Um,
machoism.
so masculinity is healthy, it's whole, it's conscious, it's caring. And the counterpoint to that, speaking of the women, is authentic feminine, which is
Mm-hmm.
it's been labeled goddess movement stuff, but I think it's more powerful than that because feminine has this beautiful gift of gentleness, of flow, but also fire and leadership as well. And the
Mm-hmm.
true leadership stands side by side with the masculine leadership, not one dominating the other or one being stronger than the other. They're both equal. And the reality is, what women don't often get is that they're more powerful than most men are because Mother Nature is feminine, and that's a force to be reckoned with. And so, for women to be in the feminine is a step up, not a step down.
Absolutely. It's
And
very powerful.
but also just to put something in context, just to say this way as well, masculinity and femininity are actually a spectrum on a spectrum.
Mm.
There is a polarity range from one end is masculine, one end is feminine. Kind of like magnets have that, where the magnets have a
Okay.
north south pole and a south pole. It's one magnet, but they're both on them, and that's the way masculine and feminine is. It's in all of us. We carry both energies within us, and the spectrum of that. So no man is 100% masculine, and no woman is 100% feminine. They can be that when they choose to be, and that's a whole other conversation about sexual relationships as well. But the reality is, for men and women, is learning how to live where on that spectrum we naturally reside and when we can choose to move back and forward from. Like when we're driving a car, we tend to be more masculine because we're going somewhere, we're in directional. That's a masculine energetic. But if we're holding a baby, we might be more in a feminine, regardless of the gender. It's just we're in that place. And so we carry all that within us as a choice. But then when we're in a relationship, ideally, because what creates the joy, the chemistry, the fuel for a healthy relationship is one partner is more masculine, one partner is more feminine, and the more those get extreme, the more excitement and joy there is between the two
Yeah, the
partners.
polarity is magnetic. Maybe I have the wrong word, but the attraction is there because of the polarity.
Yes, like magnets, because the
Mm-hmm.
North Pole and South Pole magnet are very attracted to each other, whereas the North Pole and North Pole
They
magnet don't
repel
attract each
each
other; they
other.
repel it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love that so many people are doing this work now because imagine the sparks that are going to fly. We're talking about electricity and
Well, yeah,
magnetism,
yeah.
but yeah, it's really gorgeous. And I just see all these healthy relationships. I can just envision them now as I'm talking to you and how it just feels world changing to me. It does feel like more light.
Yeah,
It
it
feels like
is.
more
It's
light.
absolutely. We are definitely in a, I wouldn't say a golden age, but we're definitely in the right place, the right time to make a difference.
Yeah. Some say we came here for this. I don't know. It's kind of a wild ride, but
Maybe,
if we
maybe.
did, then we're doing our best and we're stepping up and we're standing for love. And to me, that is, I called this podcast the Leading with Love podcast for a very purposeful reason because I
Mhm.
feel that new leadership is being called forth. And it is from the heart, our heart's in the game, but also with the wisdom. Like I said, you need the love and the wisdom. And
Yeah,
when you have that
absolutely.
and you're wide awake and you know what your heart is and you stand in service of that and love for all, but wisdom as well, that's leadership with love.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
it feels really good to me. And I'm stepping up into that. And I know that you are. And you're calling people to do that in your life and your work. And it's really spectacular. And may we prevail because love is the answer
Absolutely. Absolutely.
to every question. I want to go into one more thing. I know that I call it love in action. I know that you do some beautiful, I guess it's not charity work. I wouldn't say that. Maybe it's just more giving back and giving back to your community. Can you just tell us a little about that?
Yeah, I've been doing it for a couple of years now. I just started volunteering. I've been a volunteer through a lot of my adult life. Service is one of the things that is close to my heart.
Hmm.
It keeps me engaged. It also keeps me remembering how valuable my life is and how I can make a difference. And this project I've been involved with now, I'm LA based for those people who don't know, even though I'm English and I sound like I'm not from LA, but I live in LA. And I've got involved in this organization a couple of years ago that basically we are an organization that is a bunch of volunteers who get food from the food bank and create food boxes for needy families, like grocery boxes. So we build these boxes every Saturday and we feed 200 families every Saturday that basically either drive up or walk up. And we give them these boxes of groceries, about a week's worth of groceries they get to go home and live with, and they can have, and we get whatever we get. And sometimes it's amazing stuff, sometimes it's just mundane stuff, but we love doing
Right.
it. And it's 3 hours of my time on a Saturday, and the camaraderie between us. And we have a lot of students come from USC and UCLA, and they're so awesome. They come out and play because they started a lot younger than I did, and so it's nice to
Yeah.
have them come and play with us, make a difference. So it's my joy to do that.
Oh, that's so amazing. And so you're a mentor to them as well, these young men, showing them what it does mean to be a man, a masculine, like what I call healthy masculine, and stand in that and be in community. And I mean, we know, and we'll just ever so briefly mention, I will, that in this world where there's more and more technology, there's AI, that community, that connection, that realness
Yes,
is more important every day and it matters. You're touching hearts when you
yes,
do that, not just feeding people.
absolutely. It's something that I didn't know how important it's going to be until I started doing it. Even though I've done service all over the place, this one has been one that just lit me up. It just really feels so aligned, and it makes the rest of my week work better. Period.
Ah, I love that. So you're filling your own cup by helping others.
Yep,
Yeah, that's how
absolutely.
love works. It's an ever replenishing, expanding energy. Ah, I love that so much. Um, okay, well, is there anything else you would like to touch on before we go?
Um, well, this I'll drop in because we talked about it off the air beforehand. Is I do a couple of quizzes on my website for those people who are looking for more clarity themselves. I actually did two quizzes because I did one originally that was a relationship readiness assessment. So basically, if you're not sure if you're ready for a relationship, there's a quiz I have on my website. That's on the homepage of my site if you want to do that.
Okay, I'll put
My
that in
site's
the
about
notes. Mm-hmm.
yes, but I created a second quiz that is not published, but you can still get to it if you know the link. So that you can put in the show notes too,
Okay.
which is a self relationship assessment. Basically, because I do so much work about relationship with self, I figured let me do a quiz that invites people to look at themselves in the mirror. And I focus on 7 different areas in our own self relationship, like self approval, self forgiveness, other things too. And if you do that quiz, you'll get a whole downloadable PDF as well. But it really gives you a chance to ask questions of yourself, of where you are in your life, and if you're actually ready to even think about relationship. So there's a self quiz and there's also a relationship readiness assessment quiz, and they're both on my site because I figured I wanted to help my clients navigate things before we even talk.
I love that. I love before we even talk because they have, yeah, it's that expanded self awareness to then come to you with more intelligent questions, as it were. And I was smiling when I asked you because when I said, is there anything else you'd like to discuss? The one thing I was holding till the end was the quizzes. And you spoke to that because I think that's an amazing self assessment is a brilliant way to just dive into your own healing and then go from there because, you know, like you said, watching videos, reading books is one thing, but the pointed questions in a quiz, like what you have, I'm sure are invaluable to helping people just really just ask those questions that are going to bring light into something that maybe they hadn't looked at before.
Yep, that's why I did it. I mean, it was
Yeah.
something I didn't plan on doing, but then I sort of had this download, like I need to do something like that, and then I started making some questions up and I'm thinking of some software to make it look good. So yeah, they're out there now.
Make it look good. I love that you're inspiring me. I kind of had on the back burner maybe I want to do a quiz or two. You know, how much do you love yourself or that kind of thing. And you're inspiring me to maybe just go ahead and put that at a little closer to the front burner. So thank you.
All right, sure. You're welcome.
Well, I think we are complete. That we certainly covered a lot of things that we could have talked about
Yes.
more, but you know, it
Hmm.
gives people some things to think about. For you guys watching, I thank you so much and listening. I hope that you enjoyed this and it gave you some food for thought. And Barry is so wonderful, such a gracious guest. I thank you. And I will
Thank
put your
you.
information, of course, in the show notes in the description. And people can find you and they can take the quizzes first and then
Hmm.
contact you if they want to go deeper. And I love that you have these layers where you have, I should ask, are you doing more 4-week courses?
This is a test drive, and
Okay.
I'm halfway through now. I think at the end of the month I'll reevaluate. I believe this will go out as a bigger product later on.
Okay.
Um, I, I'm making space in my calendar for a few more private clients, but I do want to put more group work together. So this may become part of something bigger. We'll see.
Okay.
So the answer is I don't know yet.
Oh, fair enough. And yeah, and so right now, but people could still potentially work with you one on one, and they're going to get so
Yes.
much out of that. That's a really deep container. So beautiful, beautiful option. Okay. Well, thank you very much, my friend,
Thank you.
for showing up so fully again. And I will talk to you soon.
Take care.
Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, I hope you enjoyed this episode and it helped you open your heart, feel inspired, and know that we are all connected. Please subscribe and share so this work can touch more people. This is how we co-create the world we want to live in. Thank you so much again for joining us, and talk to you next time.